Oh shit me, it worked. There we go. Yeah. How are we doing, folks? Welcome not to episode 26 of Malt and Magic, but to what is going to be an episode 1 to 25 recap, and also a little bit of a recap and question and answer session around witches and wildlife. So if you're here with us, feel free to drop questions into the chat, drop questions onto Discord, tweet, Instagram. Get in touch however you want to if you've got burning questions or theories that you'd like to sort of talk about while we're on stream. And my fellow co-host tonight and I will do our best to get them answered. So I'm not going to run down all my usual intros and thank yous and shout outs tonight, because it is pretty much almost just a Malt Magic and More special, even though we're not using the Malt Magic and More titles, just because it's been a lot going on for Malt and Magic the last few weeks. So yeah, it's been all sorts of crazy stuff going on. But hopefully everybody can hear me. That would be the good thing to double check to start with. So yes, I think my only sort of big sort of shout out will be for tonight is to come and join us on our various social media channels, as he tries to press the button and fails. So that's not working. I do need to reconnect to certain things, which is all good fun. Let's bear with me, folks. Technical issues. We'll get there in a minute. So yes, as that reconnects and I start to do things, let's try doing that again. Is that going to work? No, it's not. All technical difficulties. Let's click that one instead. Still not working. Right, I'm going to give up. It's all good. We'll continue on as if we were meant to see the little lower thirds things coming up, which is not working for me tonight, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Yes, so please come and join us on our social media channels. We've got plans in place to be even more active on the social media channels and just start to build the brand and start to build Malt and Magic out further and further, but we'll talk more about that in just a minute, as we do have some updates to talk about as well. So with that, I think I will shut up there. My usual warnings are definitely still going to apply because it's Danny and I tonight. Look, there we go. There was a delay. Nice delay there. All sorts of things coming up now. Who knows what's going on? But yes, as it's Danny and I, there will definitely be adult language and most certainly adult humour. So you have been warned. Let's roll and see if it actually does it.
Hey,
Oh, we
we're on
came
the
to the right view
screen.
as well. That was amazing.
I have to say,
So-
right, it's moments like this I realise that you contribute the story, Dave contributes pretty much the stream, because without Dave, the stream doesn't happen, and then I'll just contribute jokes about tits and dicks. As if
Which is
you know,
arguably like 90% of the most entertaining part. So.
90% of the stream is vulgarity. That is true.
Most people come to talk about tits and dicks. Yeah, no, it's fine.
So what you're saying is I'm the
Good
most
stuff.
important part. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Cool. So yes, it is just Danny and I for tonight. We will be discussing all things episodes 1 to 25 of campaign 2. Obviously, last time we did this, it was Dave and I sort of mid campaign 1. And then we sort of did our post campaign 1 catch up, if you like, Malt Magic and More. So if anything, Danny, this is also your chance to get me one-on-one and ask me those questions if you've got anything burning other than the after effects of certain dalliances.
So this is literally a way for me to just fill in all the holes in my notes from the past 6 months.
Basically, yes. We can go through those different pieces and sort of pick them up. We don't know how long we're going to be on tonight, folks. It could be an hour, it could be 90 minutes, it could be 3 hours. We'll see. As I say, last time Dave and I did this, we thought it was going to be an hour. We ended up chatting for 3 hours. So yes, we'll go from there. I think we probably need to start with the obvious though, which was the announcement we put out onto Discord and our social media channels last week. Which is where some of the stress has come from with Malt and Magic in the past few weeks. Unfortunately, Samau is taking an extended break from Malt and Magic due to various different reasons and all sorts of things that have been happening behind the scenes. But just between the four of us, we've agreed it's best that he sort of take that extended break. The door is certainly not shut, is what I'm going to say there. As and when things, if they calm down and things are right, we will bring Samau back. But for now, yes, there will be no Samau going forward. We are in the process of working out some guest stars to begin with, just to obviously build out the characters that are on screen, which should hopefully bring a bit of variety into the game as well. So there's a couple of other friends that we're going to bring in. Homie and the Dude should hopefully be guest starring as well. So either one or two of their cast members will be joining us, which could be awesome. But yes, and then we will go from there, and eventually we will find some new permanent cast members. But please just bear with us. We're still going to continue. Nothing is going to change in terms of the stream. We're going to continue on with campaign 2. We will just be one cast member down for the time being.
I will have to do 2 people's amount of smut, which I can take that on. I can sort that out.
You can. Except you're playing the character that is the non-smutty one this time.
It'll have to be like a voiceover.
Jeez. No, what we'll do now is we'll have like the devil and the angel on Lex's shoulders. Yeah. So you then got the devil saying all the smutty things in his head.
Yeah. We can have it where Lex actually becomes, he has multiple personalities, and one of them is Lex, and then there's one in the background that's fighting to get out, like Fight Club. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Fight Club.
I feel like I've got to do a whole different type of DM planning now for that whole character arc that Lex is going to go through.
No, I can barely keep hold of me one character. Imagine if I had multiple personalities, I'd have to have a character sheet for each one.
That would be amazing.
It'll be a different class. Just to fuck it. Just to fuck with myself.
That is a great concept in itself. Like playing one character, but
that's campaign 3
from day to day they change. You have to roll on a random table, and that picks what class you are and all your effects for that day. That'd be a nightmare in terms of management from a player perspective, but brilliant for roleplay.
Especially if you're halfway through a stealth burglary and you turn into a paladin, and all of a sudden you're in plate armor out of nowhere. Clang, clang, clang.
Not only is it multiple personality disorder, but you also have magic along to go with it, which means your whole armament and equipment changes.
Yeah, because it's a
that would be the absolute tits. That would be amazing. Oh, good stuff. So yeah, we will sort of talk about campaign 2. I think I want to go all the way back and touch upon Witches and Wildlights, because we never really did an unpacking of that 2-part special. I know we've just rebroadcast it as well over the last couple of weeks, in between sort of episodes 25 and 24 and those sorts of bits. And it's been my favourite special / one-shot that we've done. I think our others have been around Christmas time and they've been a bit of fun. But this one was just between campaigns, let's do something a little bit different. And lo and behold, we get an ADHD rabbit and an old codger trying to save something, which was brilliant.
It was really fun to play.
So I think it was very fun to try and DM, actually. I suppose my question for you is, where did you come up with that fucking idea?
Well, every time a new race or a new subclass comes out, I always create a character in the background just to mess with it, to see what I like. So when we come up with the Witches in the Wildlight, I was just literally did a bit of a Rolodex random shuffle on what my characters I'd got lined up. And I didn't know how I was going to play the rabbit. But then I thought, all the rabbits I've seen in media have always been a bit head up. We're going to be late, like the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland or Thumper from Bambi, or they always seem to be high energy, hyperactive. So I thought, what I'm going to do. So I take inspiration. The world around me.
It definitely worked. It definitely worked.
But then it was like I did it.
I always said Ando.
I just did it once, and then it kind of worked, and then I just lent into it after that.
That's the best way with roleplay. Just try things out, and what really sort of sticks. Just go with that one.
Yeah.
No, I think I always thought Ando was like the proper extension of your personality, but there was things that came out when you were playing Lucky that I was just like, I remember this person from university. I remember going out with this person. Like, there were so many little things that just came out. I think the part with the mushroom made me laugh, and JK's just called that one out in the chat as well. With like, big giant blue mushroom. What am I going to do with it? I'm going to nibble on it and just see what the fuck happens. In the middle of the Feywild
actually
as well.
Kind of channeled a little bit as well. Can you remember? This might be a niche reference. Dexter's Laboratory, his sister Dee Dee.
Yeah.
That sort of fire when
That's
he's
not
like,
a niche reference.
do not press the button. I don't know if it made its way across Europe. Don't press the button and Dee Dee press the button. So them sort of characters. And I was conscious.
Good. I think I'd love
to as well. I'd played Ander, who acted on impulse. Lucky, who had no impulse control at all. So I'm now going to go to Lex, which is obviously other end of the spectrum if he meditates properly.
You've definitely played some varied characters across our campaigns, or any of our specials.
I did like playing Mutt, the Goblin Barbarian, in that one shot. That was fun.
I think that was the one I was on holiday, wasn't it?
Samal DM'd it, I think.
Yeah, I had no signal whatsoever, so I couldn't even tune in, so I watched it afterwards. And I honestly, when you put the voice on, thought you were taking the piss. Because it sounded like you were just screaming my name.
Well, a Cockney, when they say Mutt, sounds like Matt. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, that did make me laugh. You've played, so what is that? That's a Goblin Barbarian, a Harangon Monk.
Yeah. And obviously
you played a Pally as well.
Rogue Bard. I play a Paladin. We haven't seen that. I played that off stream. But we also did a one shot where I was a Storm Sorcerer.
Yes. So you've done Sorcerer twice now. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. Obviously, your class this time around is very, very interesting. We're having a bit of fun with that at the minute anyway, with some of the things we've got planned off screen, which we won't talk about. We'll just leave that spoiler in there. But, you've been around the houses, so to speak. But I think Dave's the same, actually. He's played Fighter, Wizard, Artificer, now a Rogue, technically a Warlock as well. So, there's been a few. I'm trying to think. I think
he's been Artificer twice, because he was an Artificer in a Christmas special.
Yeah. Yes. The elf from Santa's Workshop.
To answer your question, JK, I'm really want to play a Blood Hunter. Or is it?
Yeah, for those obviously not on Twitch, those listening, the question was anything you still want to try playing that we haven't had the chance to yet. Blood Hunter's quite fun. It's quite complicated as a class. It's really, really interesting. I'm keen to see what they're going to bring in the 2 new books.
Be like basically I want to be Blade, a vampire type Blood Hunter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
So I think with the Big B's Guide to Giants, or whatever the hell, the new one that's coming out in the next few weeks, and then the Planescape book that's coming out, that's going to introduce some new interesting things. Obviously, with the way Campaign 2's going, I'm looking forward to the Planescape one, because if they start to explore more of the multiple planes within the 5e setting, that will give me more cannon fodder and more ammunition, so to speak, to throw into the campaign. But there's some interesting artwork already for different types of characters there. I've personally dipped into a few things with NPCs anyway. So let me think. For example, Christ, I forget the guy's name now, but Campaign 1, Chord's Chosen, basically, Chord's Champion. I really should remember his name. But one of the champions that, so the Archdeacon, basically one of the ones that ended up dead. at the end, one of the 12 champions, they were an Asimar or an Asimar cleric slash paladin, basically. Just like the holiest of holy person they could possibly be. It was an absolute clusterfuck of a class, but it was fun. I don't get to play much. The question there is how much do I get to play? But anything I like to play. I am one of those forever DMs. So I have 3 campaigns outside. Well, 2 campaigns outside of Malt and Magic, which I just played with a few work colleagues, and I am the DM. So occasionally I get to play. I've been able to play a bard. So Tremolo is my bard that is still alive somehow. I'm not sure how. But yes, we've been introduced to them. What else would I like to play? Do you know what? I don't know. I think a rogue would be fun. I always go with the more magical classes, so I'd kind of want to go with a martial class. Just something that's a bit more simple and lean into the roleplay a bit more.
I did see something the other day, speaking of rogues, because I really like rogues, and I like all the subclasses of rogue. Obviously, I tried to go in a different direction this campaign. You know, when you multi-class, I did see a video the other day that said there's nothing in the rules that says you can't multi-class twice within the same. So I could be a rogue and multi-class into a different rogue. Could I? So, for example, I could be a swashbuckling assassin, phantom, soul. You know, you could go nuts, wouldn't you?
I think you'd get stuck with the D&D Beyond bit because that wouldn't work on there.
In terms of like leveling up feats and stuff, but it'd be cool to get be able to be an assassin, but then to get I can't remember what one they merged together now. But it was one where if you paired them together, so you got steady aim and assassinate at the same time, and then there was like the Inquisitor. It'd be cool, but yeah, D&D Beyond wouldn't know what to do.
No, it don't. Well, the idea of multi-classing is not subclass; it's actual multi-classes. So, but there's been some fun ones. Like Bothrid was great to play. I loved playing Bothrid. That Druid Barbarian mix was just insanely powerful, stupidly powerful to be like the most OP character I think I could have created as an NPC for you guys to have hanging around. And yeah, I think I had to nerf him quite a lot. Just because otherwise it'd be like, okay, there goes another monster, and Bothrid's done the killing shot again, which takes it all away from you guys. So it's like, okay, Bothrid's just going to scratch his bum hole for a bit, and just do that. That's going to be him for this turn. So yeah, we were talking about witches and wildlights, and as predicted, we went down a proper rabbit hole.
Yeah, nice segue.
There you go. There's an unintended pun there as well.
What is a good theory though is, whether you want to go down the rabbit hole, is now you've introduced, or we have introduced, multiple universes, parallel universes, potentially with Artemisia's research. Could all of our one-shots and all of the extra stuff we did exist in the same pantheon, and they're all just... Yeah. So, for example, if we accidentally open a world, could Lucky be there? Could Tremolo be there? Could Mutt be there?
Absolutely. Well, I think the things with all of our one-shots is they've all taken place in either a demi-plane or another plane. So Witches and Wildlights was obviously set in the Feywild, and a certain campaign 1 character did turn up. So we know that's set within the same multiverse, if you like, let alone universe, as campaign 1 and campaign 2. I think with the other one-shots, the Christmas one, there is nothing to say that couldn't just be a random winter plane somewhere, or demi-plane, the plane of Christmas. There we go. That could be fun. Because that was another teleportation beginning, wasn't it? You wake up in a tavern, but it's not any sort of tavern. Yeah, so why not? Why not? That's kind of the whole point, I think, in D&D anyway, is that they talk about the fact that every world kind of exists. No matter who's homebrewing it, or whether you're playing the Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance or whatever, they all exist together in just this big multiverse. So then the the interplanar bits, which we're now discussing, so the astral planes, the ethereal planes, and all those bits, are actually just connecting all those other worlds. Which I think is the way sort of Jeremy Crawford describes it when he talks about planar travel and the idea of people having their own worlds. I mean, we've had, if you look at Critical Role, they've had Joe Manganiello, I can never pronounce his last name, but he brought his character from all of his other campaigns, Arcan, into Critical Role, grabbed an artifact level item, and then fucked off back to his other campaign with that artifact level item. So, yeah, world hopping. It's possible. Which is nuts.
Especially Quantum Leap, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Or what's the other film? Quantum Leap's that, and then you've got... It's a really, really crap film where they just open portals to different places.
You mean Sliders?
And jump through. No, not Sliders. It's got Hayden Christensen in it. But I'm never going to remember it.
Is it called Jumper?
Is it Jumper? Yeah, Jumper. There you go.
There we go.
It is a terrible film, generally. A terrible, terrible film. But it's got Darth Vader in it, so we'll forgive him. Cool. So, yeah, Witches and Wildlights. So much in that, I think. We had... Because it was the Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I almost made it an intro into that whole adventure, if you like, where, yes, okay, we've interacted with some of the characters that appear in that book, but actually we've not killed anyone or destroyed anything, so those characters could always come back and play that in full, which was one of my ideas for that. And of course I got to play around with the Feywild, which we all know is one of my favourite settings.
It's not as if the Feywild isn't going to bleed into Campaign 2, because obviously at the end of Campaign 1 we opened the floodgates to the Feywild into Nylin, which then will be into Idalia. So, and we've already met loads of fucking hell, Eladrin. My voice,
Eladrin. Went. You have,
yeah. So
you have indeed.
It could happen.
No, it's going to be an interesting one. I think. I was trying to think of my favourite moment in Witches and Wildlights, and I can't pick one. I think there's moments during episode 1 of that two-parter where I just lose it and sort of have to sit back and applaud, because the way you and Dave are role-playing, I was just there like, I don't actually need to sit here. I'm just going to let you two chat for an hour. It's brilliant. And those are my favourite moments whenever we're playing, is where I just sit back for 15, 20 minutes and let you guys just thrash it out. I think we've had a whole episode where I've barely had to do anything. Hello to the first-time chatter. Hello, Azzy. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We are doing a bit of a recap of our two-part special we did between Campaign 1 and Campaign 2. And also going to, in short time, start talking about Campaign 2, episodes 1 to 25. And would you believe it's been 6 months that we kicked off Campaign 2? 6 months. In fact, longer. It's probably been 7 months. Yeah, it's 7 months now. So, nuts. That is crazy. What was the other question I had for you, actually? Let's start talking about Campaign 2 before I just totally go off on random tangents. So, episode 1. We set the scene, and then I threw you in the deep end because you were the first character to be introduced. What was that like?
It was nerve-wracking, because still relatively new to DD, although we've been doing it for 3 years now, or whatever. Still relatively new, aren't we? And it was first episode of a new campaign. Didn't know what the fuck was going on. Didn't really know what I was going to do. There was none of this, you meet each other in a tavern stuff. It was just, you've got off an airship and you're at the port, and the bloke is asking you for your travel information. What's your character doing? And I was like, oh, shit. And I was still, up to 5 minutes before we were actually streaming, still trying to decide what accent I was going to do. Whether I was going to be American, European, or anything like that. So, yeah, and then I just landed on the accent. But then also, although I had a way in my head that I was going to play Lex, you still don't know really how it's going to work until you start doing it. And then there's certain things that I did in that first episode that I've dropped a little bit and don't do as much. then there's bits in there that I've kind of lent into a bit more, like always asking what the protocol is. What's the protocol for the situation we're in? So I know I'm following the right logical course of action and stuff like that. But it was
absolutely.
Hopefully, it was a complete other end of the spectrum for everyone watching as well, because I don't know what they were expecting my character to be, and it turned out to be Spock from Star Trek.
I think the only person that would have had any insight, bar me, would have been Stick. Because I don't even think we discussed it with the other players, but obviously Stick, amazing Stick, did all of our artwork and has done all of our artwork for us, all of the character art. So I think they were probably the only person that had any indication of what your character might be like, what they look like.
Especially class and subclass and everything, because it helped distinguish some of the artwork,
So I think, hopefully that landed quite well. I think, Lex has definitely become one of the fan favourites. I think everybody loves all the characters.
I really like
the fan art of Lex has been one of my most shocking moments. I was not expecting
it was a lovely penis, to be fair, that got drawn.
It was two.
It was two, anatomically correct. Anatomically correct. Two peni.
I learned something that day.
We had to Google it. I was like, why has he got two dicks? And then I Googled it and I was like, that's why he's got two dicks. Happy days.
So, ironically, thanks for that fan art, by the way, folks.
Carsis would be jealous that Lex can DP somebody by themselves, and yet Lex will never probably do that in his life.
Well, not yet. Never say never.
Depends. Yeah, well, he could not meditate and go really off the rails one day, I suppose. But I did.
That would be a funny episode.
But I did think we had with really good introductions for the characters first off, because like when we just happened to, it's not like we intentionally met Carsis. We ran into them by accident, stumbled into them, and I just happened to then sort of get involved almost by association rather than actively choosing to be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I tried to make that as natural but forced at the same time as possible, because you've got to introduce the three characters, and I didn't want to do the standard you all meet in a tavern, because that's been done to death. And I think that's how we started campaign 1, theoretically, was when we did that was way before we were even streaming, when we had our whiskey night. Hence the name of Malt and Magic, folks, if you didn't get where that came from. That came from all of our love of whiskey and the fact that we used to get together and play games every so often, every few months, just a group of us around various houses, drink whiskey, play different games. It was often poker, badly, and then we branched out, played D&D once, and then lockdown happened. So we then kicked this up a gear and decided to start streaming. So there's some things we can thank COVID for. But we'd done that. You meet in a tavern, everybody's there, bar fight kicks off, and you all sort of band together, or somebody walks in and says, I'm looking for people to do this. So having you all sort of meet kind of naturally, or bump into each other and then form this bond over 25 episodes, over 7 months, or over, do you know what? I have got this somewhere. I think it's a couple of weeks in game now. Let me go look at my notes, because I have been keeping a track of this now. Where are we? That one.
That's got to be more than a couple of weeks, isn't it? In game time. Jules died about 4 times.
About 18 days in. 19 days in campaign time. It has not been long.
But then, right, it's mad, because what I was going to say was we weren't all there on the same mission. We weren't all there for the same reason. But
nope.
What we found a way quickly how our directives or our missions overlapped, and then we got embroiled in a murder mystery conspiracy, and then it kind of brought us together even more. But then when you think about it, I was like, in my head, I've bonded with the characters because I've been living with them for 6 months. But then when I think, should we be as close as we are because we've only known each other for 18 days? But then again, you go through a few deaths with each other. It's going to bring you together.
You've also been thrown into each other's company as well. The whole Artemisia piece. So the first 2 in-game days were across 7 episodes, because obviously we had to introduce introduce the characters, start to build those inter-party relations, if you want. But then the murder of Artemisia is sort of that linchpin point at the beginning of the campaign. That's what binds you all together. That's that moment where, oh shit, this has happened. We're all in it together. There's no one else really you can turn to at that point. You're on your own. You've only got these two other people that you've only known for a couple of days. And lo and behold, you jump on an airship and then one of them dies. So it's one of those things where I call it trauma bonding to an extent. And I've seen that somewhere else. That word just popped into my head, but I've seen it somewhere else. Those moments where the shit has hit the fan, and the only people I know I can definitely rely on are this rogue that I've known for a couple of days, and this weird blade singer wizard who is the most aloof person going, but also just likes to chop shit out of people. I'm going to rely on these two to help get me out of this mess.
It is tough because when I try and think about it logically, or ironically, as Danny, not Lex, it's like, would I have gone through that much trouble to try and bring Jewel back, having only known them 3 days? But then, if I think about it, Lex was like, actually, their mission might align with mine, so I need to bring them back so I can find out what they know. So there was a bit of a logical reason to bring them back, but then also an emotional one, maybe. But it's mad to think, isn't it? That would you go through that loads to people after 3 days?
I mean, yeah. Having a succubus, as I believe it was at the time, come and just take one of your mates out, new mates out. Again, trauma bonding, different things happening. But that provided a good excuse for us to go on a bit of a side quest as well and figure out how to bring Jewel back. Because I didn't just want to... Stick spent a long time on the artwork. We don't just want to can one character within episode 3, or I think that would have been around session 10-ish. Don't just want to bin the artwork off and bin the character off. So let's do something to help bring them back, and that in itself has then fueled Jewel as a character. So there's been subtle changes to Jewel, not so subtle changes as well, based on those experiences. That's how I wanted this campaign to go as well. I think the beginning of campaign 1 especially was quite prescriptive in terms of getting you and Dave introduced to the game, me figuring out what the hell I'm doing as a DM, bringing some Ao in, and then moving the story forward. Only when we started to get towards the end did you guys really start to craft the story, whereas this time it's all been... I've put one thing in there, which was those 3 quests you were all on in Thalyssa. Everything else has been a result of your actions and what you've been doing, and I've planned then around that, which is a lot more fun. It's a lot more work, I'm not going to lie, because I have to plan multiple different realities and eventualities, but it does just mean that you guys can say, I'm going to turn left rather than right, and I can just go, great, we'll go there, we'll go do that. Let's go figure that out. What's over there? Let's go to a Grooze and give drugs to a shopkeeper.
I really like that old bookkeeper man. One of my all-time favourite NPCs are either... I really like it when you do the old man voice or the old person voice, which has a bit of a lisp with them. I always like those characters.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, is who's been your favourite NPC so far? And I'll ask that to the Twitch channel as well, so you can drop in the chat who your favourite NPC has been so far, if you can remember them all, because there's been quite a few. I think my most favourite recent one was Orin, the Tinkerer at the Outpost.
He was funny.
The Gnome Tinkerer, because that was one of the old guy voices. But yes, the random shopkeeper. I think the ones where I get to just have a little bit of fun with the character, and they're not necessarily pivotal to the campaign, but they can just provide a little bit of comedic relief more than anything else, like the drugged up shopkeeper who just wandered out of the shop and didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Lex's favourite is obviously the engineer on the airship that we met.
Yeah. Indeed.
Definitely. Do you know what though? Because I told myself I weren't going to multi-class this campaign, but when I was spending time with them, and then we was tinkering, I was like, if they were in the story for a prolonged period of time, I probably would have ended up role playing into multi-class and artificer or something. Because I always say, right, I always try and level up, pick my spells or pick my character development based on how the story is going, rather than I want my character to do this and force the story that way. I'll always just pivot.
I mean, I think that even happened in campaign 1 though. If you think the way you multi-classed with Ander and the way Dave multi-classed with Ander, with Dargon. That was based on the way the campaign had gone. So we'd already talked about multi-classing anyway, because it'd be a bit of fun and give you a chance to sort of branch out a little bit. But and I think you've called it out before, like your original trajectory was like College of Swords. Always want to go College of Swords, want to go do that. And then this whole oratory type background starts to sneak in, and you then go down the College of Eloquence route.
Not to mention, I was traumatized by a cursed sword, so I didn't really want to touch any more swords.
Which is still out in the world somewhere.
That's true.
There is still a sword out there. There's a few things I think we didn't put to bed in campaign 1 that will eventually make their way round to popping back up in one of the campaigns. Yeah, the sword being one of them.
But it's when we if we zoom in on Thalyssa, because that's where we first started, and then we met Artemisia. She was then, because it then turned out to be that's what I was there for. I was there for the disturbances, which Artemisia was also interested in. Jules there for the shadows and the missing people. Cassis is just on the run and just her. And then Artemisia's murder. Well, we go to see the magistrate as well, which I thought, I didn't think the magistrate was going to be as pivotal to us as he was. I thought he was just going to be somebody who gives us a quest, gives us a bit of money, might end up stitching us up, not actually end up being the ally that gets us out of Thalyssa eventually when we get framed for the murder of Artemisia. And what I really wish is, because it took us until episode 25 to tug it, not all some of the NPCs that have now become quite important that you dismiss early on, because you're so concentrating on getting your character right, and then first couple of episodes trying to nail down what you're going to say, what you're going to do, what Dave's doing, that the NPCs in the background, other than the Minotaur being a bit like Lurch from the Addams Family, I paid him no mind at all. So they might be pivotal. The receptionist that Cassis shagged, just an NPC, turns out could be the orchestrator of this whole fucking conundrum. Again, spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, it's Well, I mean, the whole point in this is we're going to recap through those episodes. So, I think that was episode 2 or episode 3. We went to the, I think it was the Lyceum of Thalyssa or whatever I called it at the time. I really should remember all this, but yeah, brain. And there was, elven receptionist, never described as anything but an elven receptionist. Gets with one of the characters, and then lo and behold, the next night or that night, their leader ends up dying, and they've disappeared, and nobody really twigged at that moment. I think that they may have been involved, or I think there was something went on in terms of the characters and the players thinking, hang on, that's not quite right. Like, where's the Minotaur gone? Where's Mayon gone? How does that all fit together? But then because the chase was on, you've got to get out of here. Jules been captured and epically escapes from a group of guards. Like, we need to get out of here. We need to try and clear our name before we can do anything else. So you forget about those NPCs.
Brought the biggest shock for me as well, because Jules spent the whole time saying, I hate magic users, I don't trust you guys, and then fucking Misty steps out of nowhere. And I was like, hang on a minute, you said you didn't like magic. And then they fucking teleport. So that threw up a bit of distrust initially, and Lex had some questions for her. But I tell you what, I have just remembered my highlight of Thalyssa, which isn't any plot progression at all, was when we went to that fancy restaurant. And that waitress, and we had the imaginary bell that I kept ringing.
That wasn't Thalyssa, that was
was that Zunka?
Yeah, I think it was Zumkar because that was Zara, wasn't it? And the
Yeah,
and ding ling ling in your ear, ringing the bell. Yeah, there's been yeah, we've had quite a few of those already in definitely in campaign 2 more than campaign 1. There's more of a I think there's more of a relaxed feel to the players in general with campaign 2 because we're early in the campaign. We've relaxed into it a bit more. The stakes are not quite as high just yet, but so yeah, it's allowed for those more relaxed, more this is just a perfect moment to do something stupid and funny, so we're going to do it. Like the whole Lex moment. Like, what's
Lex,
your
Lex,
name?
and
Lex.
Lex.
And your name? Lex. Yeah, Lex, Lex, and Lex. Um, I don't know who did that originally, but that's now stuck, and that is a thing
Yeah,
that will probably continue to the end of this campaign, which is brilliant and always has been brilliant. So at some point, I'm going to find the episode where that happens the first time, and just be like,
I
"This
think
was
it is
it.
in the
This was that
restaurant.
moment."
I think it is in
Probably.
the, I mean, because
I thought it was
we want
prior to
to,
that, but it might be.
or when we was checking into the hotel, it was when we were after we left Thaylissa, we wanted to, I suppose, remain anonymous. But I honestly gave my name, and then them two lied behind me. I think it was either when we checked in at the hotel or at the restaurant.
I think it might have been at that restaurant. I think you're right because it's Carsis originally who just turns around and says, "Yeah, my name's Lex too," and Jewel just like that. Yeah, okay, I'm straight on that one. Um, so yeah, brilliant. All three of you in those moments, just fantastic. So yeah, Thaylissa was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to build actually as well because a lot of this has been brand new places to build. We spent a lot of time in Nile, in which I kind of had an established setting already early on. Whereas now, I've got my map and I've got my places. I'm not gonna lie, 90% of that map is not really built out. I'm doing it as we go along. I know sort of the basis for each place. But Thaylissa was very Grecian inspired, so I had a lot of fun bringing in the Greek themes and having sort of like minotaurs and Theros is the Greek setting, if you like, in D&D, so borrowed a lot from there. Hence we had one of the deities, Clothis, which is a Theros deity, but I then went, okay, well they're kind of like this deity, let's join them together, because that was something else I wanted to do this campaign, was introduce almost that cultural aspect to different cities. So not everybody is going to call deities by the exact same name. They're not going to worship them in exactly the same way. I want this world to feel varied and culturally different. And also with the intro to the world, we'd already said that the world had basically been ripped open. So powers that had diminished were now stronger. Others that were strong have now diminished. Different races have bled across. In the last 30 years, there's been more of a varied populace across the whole of Ardalia. So that's been fun. Thaylissa itself, I don't think I did the map until 2-3 episodes in for the actual, I need to figure out where the fuck everything is in this city, and then created the map. So thank you, Incarnate, for that one. So yeah, that's been interesting, and I think that threw you guys off as players to begin with as well, because different names, especially from campaign 1 when we're talking deities and different things.
Yeah,
I know I give you hard spellings all the time, so
yeah, that's the main thing I do, especially because I'm the one who writes the bloody titles on the Twitch stream. I was like, Matt, how are you spelling it? Because how normal people spell it is not how it's actually spelled with you.
I try to be as accurate to. So if I'm basing it on Greece and on Grecian sort of, there's my token mic hit, on sort of ancient Grecian mythology and stuff like that, I try to be accurate to the names and the stylizations of that time and how it's presented in like the Odyssey and different bits like that. So there's a lot of Googling that goes on, which is interesting, just to go and find names like what would a priest have been called? Hierophant.
Yeah.
Phalanx was the easiest one because Spartans, and that's very, very easy. What should we call the army? A phalanx, because that's a very Greek military thing. And yeah, magistrates was because that whole idea of a magistrate in ancient Greek was not just a lawman, they were a philosopher of sorts, and those people that not just only discussed law, but ethics, philosophy, all those different things. So great educators, so to speak, Aristotle, Plato, all those sorts of people would have been a magistrate of sorts in their time. So there's a lot of weird things happening in Thalissa. And then they decided, you know what, no more of that. We're going over to Zumkar and Agruz, and we're just going to go total Arabian Nights. And we're going to throw all that in, which is where we've had all of the Aladdin jokes, like every single one.
Yep. Sorry.
Still, one of my favourite clips is the floating carpet where Jules just like, I'm out of here. That's magic. I'm gone. And so, you only just catch it. I think if you'd have been any more subtle with that line delivery, everybody would have missed it. The whole, I could take you to a whole new world.
Oh, dad joke extraordinaire.
Oh yeah, but it's brilliant. I think everybody loves a dad joke.
Agruz and Zumkar were my favourite settings so far because it was like an Aladdin vibe, but also with all the bazaars and the way it was set out, I just knew that I hadn't even scratched the surface of what we could investigate or find there. But then I really liked the side quest that we went on because we had an airship crew, and I thought, oh, are we going to be stuck with this airship crew like we was in campaign 1, which the pirate crew? But then actually, although we bonded with them quickly, trauma bonding, we've kind of left them behind for now. But that side mission to go and rescue the tradesman, that woman's husband, who was actually being taken hostage, and we just prevented like some human trafficking. That was a really good side quest. And
small dialogue.
I don't know how that is going to play into the later story, because obviously they were buying a genie killing sword as well. They were where would they have traded him to? Was it the Serpent's Cloak who were? We never found that out. We never found out who was trying to take him and why. It could have ended up being, the secret organisation who ended up saving us and blowing up stuff.
The Silent Order.
Yeah. Was it actually them that were trying to take him, and we actually prevented them doing good work? Because they're kind of like anti-heroes, aren't they? I suppose.
Yeah, well, I suppose it depends on how you view it. There's, I think what I've wanted to do, again, this campaign, we did kind of have some different factions that you could join in campaign 1. I think we sort of unofficially said Ander was part of one anyway. Whereas this time, there's a lot of different factions out there. You've got the Crystalline Circle is like the big wizard faction. You've then got the Silent Order of Sitharas, which are whatever the hell they are, heroes, anti-heroes, protectors of the peace, protectors of the realm, whatever you want to call them. The Serpent's Cloak, which are a thieves guild / assassins guild. So again, there's that fine line of, are they good, are they bad? There's a lot of bad, but actually they've probably done some good. We've mentioned other ones. There's Balinor's Hand as well, which I think we've mentioned a couple of times, but not really delved too deeply into there. So there's a lot of different factions that give you something else to work with as a player. So Jewel, for example, started with, I want to go and be a member of the Serpent's Cloak, and I'm going to go join, and I'll converse with this person, and then I'm going to get absolutely fucked over when I totally screw up the one job I've been given.
That was a great
which was fun in itself. Natural ones.
Yeah, just roll something just to see if you can put it back down softly. Rolls a 1, right? Brilliant, smash. Everybody's awake. Game over. But the twist that I didn't see coming was the person they were sent to kill was actually like a lycanthrope, weren't they?
A were-rat, yeah.
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 When he was like, they've turned into a rat, I was like, what the fuck is going on? I thought I'd had a mushroom in Feywild. I was like, I'm tripping balls here.
Another one. Well, no, I think it's the other thing as well. I know when we were creating these characters and having those chats between the four of us around what do we want this campaign to really sort of have a theme around, and the way you'd each built your characters, I sat there and looked at it and went, this is, and I've said it before, this is the Scooby Gang. these are the folks that are going to go and solve those mysteries and unmask the so-called monster and just find it's somebody in a mask at the end of the day or something like that. And those murder mysteries, those unsolved mysteries, that's what you guys are all about. So having those moments where okay, we're gonna roll a natural one and we're gonna figure something out that, had we done a bit more investigation, we'd have probably figured out anyway. So yeah, just those little bits, like that potion that they dropped, or that they took, sorry, is the same thing that was crafted by the Malt Masters for Dargon. It's the exact same potion.
It's obvious when you say it now.
So that's what I mean. There's little bits like that that we've homebrewed, and I'm like, yeah, okay, we can pull that in. But I'm not expecting the characters to know that. Players may pick up on different things, and you have done that occasionally.
But what I do like about this campaign is, obviously, for campaign 1, we knew what the end game was, and we were trying to get to it. Whereas this one, yes, we're trying to figure out who the Shadows is and who killed Artemisia, but it does feel more like a weekly crime drama type show where we're taking it case by case, mystery by mystery, and we're doing it one quest at a time. Like on each week on Law and Order, you get the case, you finish the case, but there's always the subplot that goes throughout the whole series, and it feels like we're doing that. We're having proper episodes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, in that same vein, I think we've got an enemy at the minute, of course, that are known, unknown, maybe. I'm not 100% convinced that we've got a BBEG yet. I don't think we've got there yet.
Yeah.
There's potential.
Well, it's COG anyway, isn't it? We knew that. It's COG.
Fucking thing. At some point, we're going to talk about that as well. Is the pain that I have to go through as a DM. First, it was bloody a whole different character, and now it's bloody companions and pets. So yeah, fellow DMs feel my pain, but nuts. So yeah,
I don't think we're close to the big bad yet, because we're only finding we just seem to be going up whatever the chain of command is with these bad guys, like the receptionist and her uncle, which is the guy in the cloak that we've seen, and then but who's he working for and who are they working for? Mm-hmm. But then what makes me worried is, although I've not put this in my own backstory, right, if Primus is the master of the grand equation, how he ultimately knows who the bad guy is, right? But he's not going to tell me that.
Nope.
Or I mean, it's like he could tweak the equation if he wanted to, but he's not going to.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. So I've been working on a little bit around Lex this past weekend, actually. And as we start to explore more, there's a lot of fun to be had. I'm going to make you do a dice roll at the very end when we finish this, which is going to decide something for the future for Lex, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I will do the same with Dave as well. There is something for Jewel that I want him to roll for at some point, and we will probably do that at the beginning of next episode, and I will make a note of that for whenever it happens. But I think there's a lot more to unpack with each of the characters. You talk about scratching the surface of the campaign and the NPCs. We've barely scratched the surface with any of our characters yet. I'd say some more than others, but there's a lot that we haven't seen.
We had a big reveal for Carsis. We've had a semi-opening up about Jewel, why she's there, and all we know is Lex has been gone for 30 years and he's been in McCannis. Mm-hmm. Other than that, not really delved into Jewel and Lex a lot in terms of history-wise.
Well, because then there's with Lex especially, there's the box, for example.
Yep.
That you've had in your possession ever since you came out of McCannis back into Ardalia. Didn't know what it was, not been able to do anything with it, and then lo and behold, an artifact gets found. Cog takes it, sticks it in the box, locks it again, doesn't talk to you about it.
Yeah, it was a dickhead
there's
But what will be
there's a lot of
interesting
things
though
to
is
come.
going on the travels where we're going to go next. We're going to go through Jules' homeland a little bit, aren't we?
Yep. Yep.
So that'll be
So
interesting.
Dave
That
and I
might
have been
bring out some
discussing that.
stuff. But we are nowhere near organically going to where Lex grew up. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say organic. I imagine at some point we will fire across different parts of the world. I mean, yes, okay, the campaign at the minute is very much set in NOF and that continent of NOF, just because it gives us another setting to play around with, and there's a lot of space to play around with there. I've been adding stuff throughout this campaign as well, just like, okay, there's another site that we can add. The Anoa outpost didn't exist until probably about 3 months ago, when I was thinking, okay, I need a route across. There needs to be something in this space. The ancient battlefield didn't exist until we started pissing around with the planes.
That was cool though.
And I had a lot of fun crafting that.
I feel like
So yeah,
Jewel actually dying and us getting them back from the astral plane, and me using suggestion successfully to get the devil to bring their soul back, or whatever way round it was.
it's
Some of the stuff that's been really cool, like the ghostly burial ground and the ghostly battle, that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
there's a lot, as I say. So that whole idea of you guys driving the narrative, definitely with that front. I think if Jewel hadn't have died, there's whole rabbit holes I've jumped down and gone down since then, around all sorts of different things that have ultimately enriched the world and will enrich the world. But prior to that, I would have never even considered. And we've started introducing new deific powers, for example, the idea of different gods. I talked about it when we were sort of doing this whole, okay, the ley lines have surged and the planes have opened up and the prime deities have sort of lost a lot of power, but actually there's other powers coming through. And I'll be totally honest, glossed over it up until that moment where Jewel died, and I was like, oh, hang on, there's something we can do here. Other powers, other deities, which is now starting to come through, and he's starting to interact with Lex. More recently, has discovered a potential deific power, another deity of sorts, old or new or forgotten or whatever. They're going to have to figure that out, and they've tried, communicated with Primus. I can't remember actually, because I looked at your lore document, whether that was a recent addition or whether I'd put that in right at the beginning around one of those particular deities. I think it was in at the beginning.
Or Kronos.
Which if it was, yeah.
No, I added it into my lore document after we unlocked the chronomancy stuff.
Because I was sat there going, have I had a total brain fart? But no, you've added it in. So excellent. Well done. That's what I like to see. That was a new thing for this campaign as well, wasn't it? Lore documents and campaign setting documents. So making sure you guys have got something you can base off.
Going to be tricky for Lex actually going forward is he has managed to establish that Kronos and Primus, well, they're not the same, but both can exist. One was before the other. So although I don't want to multi-class, right, if I'm going to lean into the chronomancy stuff, I could end up becoming like Kronos could be my patron or something like that. Not that I want to do warlock, or there isn't a cleric class for time. But
no, but there is wizard.
Yeah, true, but that'd just fucking blow my mind, so I'm not going to bother doing that. But then also, it'll be interesting because the god's power is also diminished in this world at the minute anyway. So, discovering chronomancy, is that going to unlock anything in terms of the old gods?
Yeah. And you saying this idea of there's no cleric for chronomancy? Who says?
Touche.
In homebrew, this is our world, we can do whatever we want. I've done this. So campaign 1, for example, we did this with Samau. Samau wanted to be a rune knight fighter, but we didn't want to make it tied to the giants. We still wanted to keep that matron of death feel through it. So I took that class, the Rune Knight fighter, and totally translated it into a whole different thing, which was specifically for the Raven Queen and a Rune Knight fighter, the Raven Queen, and even said that this is the Raven Queen bastardizing the powers of the giants that granted these Rune Knight powers to these different fighters, and she's twisted that and made it her own.
Because it could even be not even a clerical thing, it could be a paladin oath, so it could be like an oath of timeline protection, like
there's some cool oaths there anyway, like Oath of the Watchers, that we could work on if that was something like you wanted. I'm not saying we're going to, but there's all sorts of stuff coming through, and who knows what's going to land in the new books. I'm not going to talk about the new sort of D&D versions that are landing, because that's something else we've worked through, and has almost been slightly forgotten about now, as the old OGL debacle that we went through right in the middle of. So in fact, right towards the beginning of campaign 1, or campaign 2 even, where we've had to sort of think, okay, what's going on in the D&D world right now? And do we continue with 5e, or do we look at Pathfinder, or that whole nightmare, which was a lot of fun to try and work through. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about the stuff they're releasing now, and all the different changes to the classes, because I honestly don't think we'll get there for a long time yet. I think campaign 2 is going to be around for a while. We're going to continue playing 5e. Dave and I, funnily enough, was discussing this the other day, because Matt Mercer and Critical Role are releasing their Daggerheart style, their Daggerheart version of play, if you like, TTRPG. It's a totally different, can't even call it Dungeons and Dragons, it's literally called Daggerheart. But that is designed apparently for long-term immersive role-playing campaigns. It may be that when we finish campaign 2, that suits us better than D&D 5e or D&D 6.0 or 5.5e, whatever they're going to call it. So we might even end up changing systems totally then, which could be fun. Could also be very weird.
Yeah, that'd blow my mind.
That would be a big learning curve for everyone.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
So,
cool.
Back into the recap. When we were in a Grooze and we had to make a sharp exit from a Grooze, that was because the bounty hunter's looking for Karsis found us? Or that's
there
what
was
we
a couple of things. Yeah. So there was a couple of things that happened there. There was some individuals there that probably would have recognised Karsis eventually, or come looking for Karsis. There was also the message from the magistrate.
Yes.
Which was, get out, they found you, basically, or they found me. The party haven't heard from the magistrate since.
And in true campaign fashion, we haven't bothered to check in with them.
Despite having a sending stone, yes.
Outside, see you later, pal.
This is very much a recurring theme within Malt and Magic, which is we find an NPC, they help us loads, do loads for us, and yeah, fuck them. Just forget about them. Like,
just make sending stones not exist in your world, because we give them to somebody with all good intentions, and then it ghosts them for the end of time.
Yeah.
It's a major red flag for us as a party.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you've not even reached out. Granted, it's not been too long, but since your rapid escape from a Grooze, and the other thing which meant you had to leave a Grooze very quickly was, of course, the fact that Jewel fucked up massively with a Serpent's Cloak. So you had to get out there very quickly. But you've not reached back out to the airship crew. Like, there's not been that line of communication.
Have we got a mechanism to reach out to them?
Well, you've all got spells. Bar one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We'll see them again in 50 episodes, and that'll be lovely. But yeah, they get to
they'll just rock up to one of the villages, and you'll be like, you, hi. So yeah, no, it is definitely a recurring thing. Poor Captain Swift for the whole of campaign 1 got tortured, dumped into the Feywild, almost eaten by a fucking dragon.
But they were made an admiral at the end of it, so swings
They
around
were,
that.
they were. Yes, I think everybody did well out of that campaign in the end, apart from Asmodeus, who got royally fucked. I think it was JK called it out earlier as one of the favourite moments from campaign 1 was Ander bluffing a god, which I've never seen you sweat so much in an episode, I have to say.
Mate, it was the most nerve-wracking dice rolls I've ever made. But then again, when you're being a spellcaster as well, or a clockwork sorcerer, a lot of my strategy is trying to control the battlefield and what's going to happen next, and trying to stop people doing stuff I think they're about to do. So literally, it's not just one dice roll. Oh, I don't hit with my bow and arrow. I'll try again next time. It's I've missed. That was my window of opportunity. The dice roll was shit, and now I've got to come up with a completely different plan because that was a time-dependent idea. So it's
and we've seen some cool, like the whole. I've missed. I'm gonna actually fix that and pull that back with like your chromatic orbs and pieces like that.
Yeah.
We've just gone. No, I'll bend that back over here.
But what I struggle with, one of the perfect spells for a clockwork sorcerer is slow. But I don't want to pick it because obviously I fucking used it to stitch you up in campaign 1 so many times with Ander. I'm like, I don't want to be a one-trick pony. But that is now, especially I'm dipping into chronomancy. It's perfect. I won't do it at principle because I want to.
Well, I suppose stuff. Talking outside of sort of the characters, and the player characters won't obviously realise this, but if you've not noticed, the enemies at the minute are looking to be spellcasters. So don't you worry about casting spells, because I've got stuff planned. There's spells that I can solve that problem with. And I will be getting revenge for campaign 1. As I have done already in some occasions.
We were saying it off stream, but I will have to rethink some of my spells now that Carsis won't be with us for a bit, because me and them complemented our spells. Like there was a spell I would take, but they took instead that we could complement in battle. So, for example, like haste. It makes sense. As a clockwork sorcerer, I'm controlling the battlefield, so I'm speeding up time, slowing down time, moving people around the board like I'm playing chess. Haste is something I would give, or counterspell is something I would use to restore the balance, but Casters chose them, so I chose different ones. So next time I level up, I might have to swap some back in.
Yeah, it is going to present. There's gonna be some ramifications, obviously, with Samal not being here and then Carsis not being around as well. So, I mean, there's little character interactions which I'm definitely going to miss. The whole Lex Carsis, will they, won't they type situation, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, that tension there is going to be sorely missed, I think. But I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. We'll work with it. We'll move on. We'll see what we can do. But yes, the battle tactics are going to be interesting to see how they change. I obviously will tweak the encounters so that they are balanced to an extent. Like if it's meant to be a very, very hard encounter, it will still be a very, very hard encounter. But they always has to be, and I always do this. There's always got to be a potential for you guys to win. Otherwise, there's just no point. Like unless you do something really stupid, like, oh look, there's an ancient blue dragon. I'm gonna go jump on that fucker's back and try and stab it in the neck. That's highly likely to end in a TPK right now. But yeah, the general stuff I think we'll be okay with. And we'll rebalance, we'll figure it out. And of course, we've got guest stars coming in, so that in itself will mean I'll have to chuck things around and shake things up a little bit. You might even get a healer every now and again. Somebody that can actually come and heal the party. Which
I did see a thing the other day, and it was like, are you the type of DM that casts counterspell for your cleric's healing spells on the party just to be a dick? And I was like, no, Matt hasn't done that.
Campaign 1... I know. I didn't get much chance with campaign 1, to be honest.
We only had the odd anti-magic field and stuff where Kirik was then fucked.
We didn't really go against anyone that was a proper aggressive spellcaster. Most of the spellcasters were on your side. So yeah, we've not had that opportunity to play around with things like Counterspell and Silvery Barbs or Dispel Magic. There's been a few occasions. And there's been moments where I have taken people out of the fight. We had that not so long ago with the the funguses, or the fungi, I should say, speaking proper
Fucking
English.
hell. Yeah.
So you escape
Honestly,
a bruise.
Most of the fun we have in this campaign has been at the expense of mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, across the special in this campaign,
Yeah, they feature a lot.
I think, well, we got out of a Grooze. You went to the Anoa outpost, dealt with Orin and their eccentricities, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you to the fans there for providing even more comedic moments, which are now canon in the campaign. But yeah, you then go for a wander, get a bit lost, walk into a forest, and get attacked by a load of animated fungi, which is hysterical.
Note to self: character for a one shot, a mushroom called Stroganoff. That's what I'm gonna. A living mushroom Stroganoff.
I actually think I'm gonna go look now. I'm pretty sure in Witches and Wildlights there is a race you can pick, or there is a type of character you can pick.
That's a mushroom.
So I know Myconids are a thing, because I used Myconids in that fight. Holy shit. Thank you so much for that raid. That is fucking insane.
Holy shit.
Holy hell. Thank you so much. I would like to say we're doing something totally pivotal, but actually it's just Danny and I talking shit for an hour and a half so far. We're doing an episode 1 to 25 recap of campaign 2.
It is pretty pivotal, because I'm talking about playing a living mushroom called Stroganoff.
Yeah, this is big stuff now.
This is pivotal. So I can play a living mushroom.
I'm just about to go. I'm going to go look this up very, very quickly.
Myconids,
I'm going to go look at the races. So Myconids do exist as monsters, but I don't know if you can play them.
You just said we could do whatever we wanted. You could homebrew
well, yeah, I can homebrew it. We can definitely homebrew it. But that would be fun. There's got to be something coming out for that. I mean, you can play as a bloody plasmoid, so why can't you play as a mushroom?
There we go.
So absolutely.
I'll make it happen.
No, we'll figure that one out. That sounds fantastic. I mean, you've got custom lineages as well, so you just build it. So a mushroom called Stroganoff. Oh, I'm going to say, I know Dave's listening somewhere, mate. You're going to have to up your game in terms of your character choices now. We've got a mushroom called Stroganoff. What class would you have the mushroom, though?
It'd be a druid or a ranger, wouldn't it?
I feel that's too obvious. I feel like you've got to go proper
off
the wall with that.
A mushroom Oath of Vengeance paladin, because all of his brethren had been turned into a casserole. So he's got a personal vendetta against all vegetarians.
That would be fantastic.
That's just off the top of my head.
Oath of Vengeance paladin. Yeah, we can definitely work with this. Yeah, I like. Yeah, got to tenderize the meat by hitting it with a hammer. So yeah, a mushroom barbarian would be another fun one, I guess.
Like a roided out mushroom, like a beef mushroom.
A beefcake
mushroom.
Like a big ass chestnut mushroom, big old fucking head on it.
Yeah, because I don't want it to be like the toadstool from Mario. I want it to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, let's go down barbarian route. A Goliath-sized mushroom.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to you're gonna have to search for what Myconids look like now, because I reckon you could probably build something like that. That would be a lot of fun. We've totally dropped off whatever the fuck we were talking about, but
we've gone on a right tangent here. We've got to wrestle it back.
Yeah, we have gone on a
right
right
tangent. So after we escaped,
that's amazing,
from a cruise, and we then landed on the Anoa outpost, didn't we?
Yes, you did, Lambert. So that's what I mean. We had that. So my favourite NPC that I played so far, which was Orin. We've glossed over a lot in Zumkar and Agruz, which we will roll back to in a minute. But yeah, my definite favourite NPC, which was the old gnome tinkerer, who was just setting fire to shit left, right, and centre, the most scatterbrained person going. I think Lex probably had the most trouble adapting to that person, because Jewel just checked out, just was there like, yeah, okay, I'm not even dealing with this person. They're magical anyway, so I'm going to go stand over here. I'm going to go chat to somebody about food and potentially lead us into the forest to the north, which would have been a lot of fun as well. While you and Karsis then had to figure out how to get a boat to shrink, so you could then carry it all the way across to a river to then go and find some wizards on an island somewhere.
And it was really hard for Lex, who takes everything quite literal and was trying to come up with a logical plan with this person who was like an old gnomish wizard with some form of dementia, who didn't have a clue what the fuck was going on. But it did lend us to now one of the greatest canon events of our campaign so far, which is JK coming up with the gnomish language as we go along, and all of them are euphemisms for genitalia. So, you know, it's created comedy gold, so it was worth it.
It has, and for those that weren't there for that comedic gold moment, the word for, or the gnomish spell and verbal component for the spell enlarge reduce is now digbic. Digbic, all one word, but yeah, brilliant. I think we spent all of last campaign with Ander coming up with the thieves' cant, and we've now got our fans crafting gnomish languages for us, which is amazing. I love it. Please keep doing it, folks. Please keep interacting like that as well. It makes for a lot of fun on our end as well.
Yeah, and my favourite bit is getting distracted from the campaign, trying to come up with new words for JK in the chat. And then Matt were like, Danny, it's your turn. I'm like, shit, sorry, I was talking about tig old bitties with JK in the chat.
Yeah, there's been a bond with some of our fans that have definitely formed through fucking hell gnomish languages. Oh, amazing. So yeah, I mean, rolling back to Zumkar and Agruz, we glossed over the whole Zumkarian delights of the restaurant, which we called out as that really funny moment with the three Lexes to begin with, but then the moment with the taverness, or the sort of wait staff, Zara, who just generally got annoyed with Lex. I think she was on the verge of throwing a pie at you.
But it's like, I wasn't being intentionally obnoxious. I just couldn't figure out what the right protocol was for that restaurant. And I ended up just being an absolute menace.
Well, you did get sent to like the creme de la creme 5-star joint in the whole city by Romeo, who had not paid the bloody membership fee in a while, so he ended up getting shafted for that anyway. But yeah, that in itself presented a whole different paradigm for the players, who most of them have come from, apart from Karsis, who is from money, so to speak, but is escaping that and running away from that. You've then got Jewel, who's from a very simple village, and yourself, who spent most of your time, or Lex has spent most of their time, most of their life on the plane of Mechanus, rolling into a 5-star sort of Michelin star restaurant. Just chaos ensues. Absolute chaos ensues. I'm looking at these different words that are coming through the language now, and they're brilliant. We're gonna have to start, and I'm yeah. This is going to be a well. No, this is going to.
Oh, that's brought back to fun.
We're going to have to start the Malt and Magic wiki so that people can contribute into this, and yes, we can have the Malt and Magic gnomish language, which will never get accepted in any other D&D game ever, because it's just too crude.
You can put our thieves' cant next to it as well.
Yeah, I love the idea that the gnomes in our world are just sexual deviants. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Like that whole race is just bunch of deviants.
Yeah, instead of Oompa Loompas, they're like Humpy Dumpies. Just humping everything.
Humpy Dumpies. There we go. That's going to be a nickname for the gnomes in our world. Let me just go make a note of that one. Fucking hell. Oh dear. So yeah,
that's probably a hate crime to gnomes. I do apologise.
Maybe. Can there be a hate crime against a mythical race?
Well,
who knows?
You can in D&D world. Yeah, thing with Zumkar though, I think we're going to end up circling back to Zumkar / Agruz because I know we're now on the lookout. The receptionist that we've met in Thailissa, because we think they might be pivotal to the murder. We're going to where a big elven population is, but if you're going to hide somewhere, Agruz and Zumkar being big market metropolis types, it's a good place to lay low, isn't it? Considering we've already met 2 secret societies in those places, what's to say she can't go into hiding there herself?
I was just looking at our continent map so far because we've not branched out into the wider world yet. And if I look at the whole continent, Nylin, Campaign 1, like furthest right little segment of this continent. And even for Campaign 2 so far, we have basically visited the bottom right eighth of the map. There is a whole bunch of shit to go and discover. Like, we didn't spend too long in our outpost. Granted, it was really tiny. We've found the ancient battlefield and we're now on the Crystalline Isle. So we have slowly started to push our way west when I remember my directions there. Because I kept fucking that up in the campaign. Never have I struggled with north, south, east and west so much than Campaign 2 of Malt and Magic. My brain just seems to see that and go, no, you're forgetting that.
Well, you've made up all the days of the week in the calendar, so you might as well just make up new directions while you're at it.
We're going to have Neast, Orth, Cest and Wouth. I did have fun creating that calendar though, because I think I asked the question as well. We got so far in, I said, okay, do we want a calendar for Ardalia? And sort of like a way of tracking time. And there was a resounding yes from everyone. So thank you, World Anvil, for helping me to craft that timeline and then those days of the week. But it does mean now we can actually properly track the date and time, and it means I can introduce certain like dates around deities, and there'll be specific events and celebrations and things that happened. So that's a lot of fun. We managed to skip over a whole city as well throughout our Gildornian adventures. We went from Zumkar straight to Agruz, and there's a sort of quite a major city right in the middle of there, which is Arjagok. Didn't touch it at all. Just flew straight over the top of it because one of the members of the party decided they were going to die, which meant we had to get somewhere pretty quickly.
Yep.
So, because I think you were taking the coastal route from Zumkar and around, but you did eventually fly over Arjagok, or Arjagok, however I want to pronounce that one, but never stopped in. So yes, I fully expect you to head back to Gildorn at some point, because there's a lot in those deserts that you've not looked at. I mean, to be fair, looking at the map, there's a lot of places we can go. We may not touch at all. There's all sorts of crazy places within this map. So as I say, I've got most of it planned sort of in my head and brief notes, but the actual cities themselves, there's only a few of them that are properly fleshed out. I love it when you guys see names as well on the maps. Like, oh yeah, we're just going to fly across the Sea of Lost Souls. That sounds ominous.
Yeah. But part of me wants to just do it to see what happens.
Yeah. So there are names for these for a reason, but yeah, it's a little bit of fun. And I suppose then, having done Agruz, dealt with Romeo, obviously got the merchant back and his for his wife, done that little bit of work, which granted you all a few gifts and a few magic items, because that's something else we said right at the beginning, is like, magic is rife now. It's powerful, it's varied, it's widespread, it's a lot more common. So the idea of you guys picking up magic items, I'm not bothered about this time. It's like, yeah, go for it. You want that? There it is. You can go and buy it. You can go find it. Which has made the latest location quite a lot of fun. Because because you interacted with the Crystalline Circle in Campaign 1 as sort of with, oh god, the Leonian character.
Ethereal.
I've totally forgotten his name.
Ethereal.
There we go. Ethereal, which everybody kept getting his name fucking wrong. Ethereal. Went through everything. Because there's an NPC that started out of nothing. You just found a spell book and there's an NPC. So I think this time round we've managed to flesh that organisation out themselves. It's presented. I thought when we were going there, and this may be just down to scheduling and stuff like that, that it would have been like Karsis would have absolutely shone here. And I think it's probably somehow's not been able to be in as many episodes, unfortunately, where we've been with this group. So we've not been able to dive into the wizard side of things. But for both Jewel and Lex, being amongst wizards has presented a very different paradigm for you both. Jewel's had to deal with the fact that magic's everywhere, like in this place. Lex has dealt with unveiling and uncovering things, which we've talked about. The whole idea of chronomancy is now a thing, now exists in the world. You've almost rediscovered it. And we did touch on a little bit of like time magic in Campaign 1 with Kirik, but didn't really flesh it out. Kirik disappeared, literally went back in time, or forward in time. Can't remember. Back in time, I think, actually. And was away for a period of time. And then appeared back with you guys. Now we get to play around with that whole idea of time magic. And the Crystalline Isle being... I'm being very careful around what I say here, because we're still here right now. Crystalline Isle is where we're at. And yes, we are probably just about to leave. But there's so much to this place that you've not seen, not observed, not explored. There's a lot of things going on here, which I started to tease out with with the way you got there and some of the things you saw. I think that whole idea of where the ley lines have been strongest, there's a lot of fun to be had in those locations. Everybody knows, I think I've posted it already, that I bought like the Mutated Monsters book from was it D and Dice, I think, did that, or Dice Dungeons, I can't remember the name of them. Then you'll shoot me, guys. Forgive me for totally fucking up that one. That book's a lot of fun because it introduces the idea of mutating things, and I kind of think that's where my mind went with, okay, we've introduced raw magic into the world. That's going to fuck with a lot of people and a lot of creatures. Hence you then had a dragon with runes down the side of it, and did some different things. So I think we've got a chance to have a lot of fun there. So yeah, we've done... It feels like we've not done a lot in 7 months, but actually we've done a shit ton. Like, even though the in-game time has not been a lot, we've done so much.
Especially in the last 2 or 3 episodes where we've had, like I said, a big lore reveal for Lex with the chronomancy. It's something he actually discovered as a child but wasn't ready, repressed those memories, rediscovered it. And then the interactions with Primus and the dichotomy of what a god of time means when he knows Primus is there looking after time and fate and stuff like that. But then also the revelation on these characters who just seem to fleet past in about half an hour. So when we was in the temple in Feylissa, under the temple in Feylissa, and we met that hooded character with the hooked nose, who just seemed to come and go. And then actually when we pieced together, that elven receptionist, what did she actually look like? Oh, she was an elven woman with a hooked nose. And we were like, oh shit. And then when we looked, actually, what was her name? Began with an M. And then we found a journal with an M in it. And then we found a spell book which belonged to her uncle, which then turned out was an apprentice / collaborator with Artemisia when we was looking at her journals on the Crystalline Isles.
I mean, you've mixed a lot of lore together there now.
Probably in the wrong order. So correct me if I'm
it's
wrong.
Fine. No,
But
you carry on, and then I'll sort out the bits.
all of that came together in about 1.5 episodes, and yet
Yeah,
that was like all.
which I
And it
think
was
is
like all of them.
why.
The 7 months then all came to a head. We were like, shit.
Yeah, I think that's why it's been a case of like there's details that are slipping and like are not being forgotten, but just like there was so much that got revealed in about 20 minutes because it was the end of an episode where we just went boom, you've discovered these books, here we go. um I think that yeah, it starts and you forget things that have happened 7 months ago, so there's those little pieces where you're just like, I've connected that dot, actually that dot should connect over here. So M, you've surmised, you believe is Mayon. You found the name Mayanora, which is
Yep.
a student or was a student of Artemisia, apparently. You then found the initials VS in a book somewhere back in the Temple of Clothis, way back in episode 2 or episode 3. And you found a spell book with the initials JS on the front. You were told by the Grand Magister, the prime arcane individual of the Azure Pillar within the Crystalline Isle, that Artemisia had an apprentice called Jane Shadowthorn. You've made a connection there saying that, okay, maybe JS was their spell book. And it's that individual's uncle, which was working with...
VS was just the person in the journal on the
Yeah,
multiverse.
VS was in the journal, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot, and I still need to give you those little lore snippets. So there's excerpts from the books that you discovered, which I will get on, and I will do. Now I've got a little bit of time. I'll make sure I get them done
also,
this week.
Changed how mine and Jules' artifacts are going to work, didn't you? Like they grow with us.
I did. Yeah. So last campaign, I went very much down the route of almost like a vestige. Matt Mercer playing on the critical role stuff that he did there. This time, I was like, I don't want it to be that. I want it to be an item that actually is going to augment your abilities, but additional capabilities will unlock as you level up, rather than there being a specific thing you have to do to unlock the next capability within that item or something like that. So it's more, they are more tied to you as individuals, and it's how you now go about your journey, as opposed to this item is something I need to figure out. The item is there, it's done, it's cool, it will provide extra capabilities as your players, as your characters grow, which is just something different I wanted to play around with, because I don't want to just give you like artifact level items straight away either. The idea that you get the role play in the stuff that's going on in game is tweaking items. So you take Jules' cloak, that has been influenced by the individual that is somehow working behind the scenes to give Jewel new capabilities and give new powers. So I see you've got this, I can make that better, here it is. And with Lex discovering a whole new branch of magic, rediscovering a whole new branch of magic, there's already a link there, there's a connection there. So here's something that can grow with Lex as they begin to understand that connection a bit more. So it's less around the item, more around you and your journey. I think I've waffled very long around basically what I mean on that front.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, and I will talk to Samao about this as well, but his sword was also going to go on one of those journeys, and probably will still go on one of those journeys. So I will send him all the details around that, just so he's got that. Because he may choose to take Karsus elsewhere and go and continue Karsus' journey for a little bit, depending on what he wants to do. And yeah, I would like that to go with him as well. So yeah, and that's really where we are. So I think that the next stage is really what you guys do next. So what Jewel and Lex decide to do next. We will deal at the beginning of next episode with the Karsus situation and what Karsus is going to do. because I don't want to basically labour that point. We'll get that sorted quite early on, and then it's about where Jewel and Lex go next and what they want to do. I think there's already a bit of a plan, and I think we're heading into the Elven territories next, which is going to be fun. Yeah, we're probably going to retrace a few of Jewel's steps.
Yeah, because that could be a good
journey towards
little
Thalyssa.
Jewel character development arc. Because if we're going through her home continent, hometown,
yeah, it does feel like that's what's going to happen. And Dave and I have had a few discussions, so a few spoilers there. But yeah, so one of our player characters is gonna go through a bit of a character arc in the coming weeks and months. So that should be really interesting. It's one of the reasons why I've said, right, at the end of this, you're going to make a roll for when we get to your character arc and when we do something around that. And the same with Jewel. Jewel's going to have probably the next immediate character arc. So I will get Dave to make a roll at the beginning of episode 26, which is next week, I believe, unless something changes. We'll keep people updated on the schedule, and we'll go from there. But yeah, we are slowly making our way across Noeth, at least the lower region of the main landmass, if you like. What I will do for folks, because I don't think we've published the maps anywhere, so I will drop our maps as they stand today, or at least a version of them, into our Discord channel, just so people can find them. I've been doing some tweaks on the website, so there are some bits on there. I'm going to try and make more around that. But yes, Discord is definitely where we can drop a few things in. I've already done some homebrew in there today as well and dropped one of the Campaign 1 homebrews. But I'll publish our maps in there so people have got access to them. And at least then you can see where the characters are going and what the world looks like, what the continent looks like as it stands. We will add more. And as we add more, I'll update it. And then we'll continue our journey from there. So I don't know if we missed any questions in the chat at all. Was there anything that came through? I think there was one very early on from JK, which we were in the flow of conversation. We've continued that flow of conversation. I've totally glossed over it, so I apologise, JK. But I think it was something around me homebrewing stuff. I'm just going to do a quick search.
It was. Going back.
Since you don't play much,
is there anything
you want to try home? That I haven't figured out how yet. Simao and I had started this with Karsis, that we'd started to homebrew spells, and it's not something I've done before. So I think that's definitely something I'm keen to start to explore. I think the other thing is I've only done a few subclasses. I think at some point I would love to craft my own. Like, I want a class for Malt and Magic, which is specific to us. Unlike anything else, like, it is pure Malt and Magic inspired. So yeah, that's probably something I will think about over time. It's not something that's going to crop up immediately. But at some point, one of the players will do something, and I will sit there and think, there isn't a class for that. So let's think about what we can do there. So yeah, I think that's probably something I want to go and do. I don't think there's anything. I think everything. Magic items I homebrew quite a bit because that's quite a lot of fun. The world we've homebrewed, and it's been my vision, but it's been led and influenced heavily by the players. So a lot of areas that exist on our world map are because of you guys. The Oblivion Islands, for example, there's a whole region which is purely down to Lex's backstory. So the whole region that exists there is nothing to do with me. It's just, okay, Lex had to come from somewhere. This is where you decided. We've fit that. Actually, the Auroran Empire, that whole continent, is down to what Simao did with Karsis. So that's a very interesting area in itself, which we'll explore at some point. So yeah, and yeah, that's probably it for me. I don't know if you got any other questions for me at all, Danny, or anything else?
No, because all the ones I want to ask, probably you won't tell me the answer to anyway, because they're plot spoilers.
We'll try not to spoil too much. I think we've discussed quite a bit around the plot anyway, and where it's got to. There's a lot of unanswered questions right now. I mean, is there anything from campaign 1 that you still feel is unanswered within the plot that you'd want to ask about? I put you right on the spot there.
I don't think there is, I'm just curious to see how eventually that bleeds into campaign 2, because it's only 30 years later, so Anders still alive, probably.
Yep.
He'll only be late 50s,
yep,
early 60s. So
all of the campaign 1 cast are still alive in some way, shape, or form.
So
Bothrid's off in the Feywild.
Curious about. And how it's going to work. And it would be good to see, actually, while we're at Crystalline Isle, not that my character would ask, actually, but they must know of the other circle in Idril, so they must know.
Idril's been mentioned.
It has, actually, yeah.
So they have mentioned Idril. So yeah, no, eventually something will take us to Nylin, and we will see, or some people will come from Nylin to do different things, because there's other characters that existed within that campaign that can bleed into campaign 2. It doesn't necessarily need to be Ander pops up on a diplomatic mission. It can be people around Ander.
To be fair, Mephisto will probably end up in Zumkar and trading some shit, or in Negruz on a trade.
Indeed.
Easy, can he?
Indeed.
Yeah.
The Malt Masters Guild still exists, but very much as a trade mechanism now, and sort of the mercantile faction for Nylin. So it's one of the.
Oh, it might have been them who were trying to kidnap the tradesman. You never know.
No, indeed. So good stuff.
Ooh.
Cool. Well, I suppose then I need you. As we start to wrap this thing up, just as I quickly go and look. Bear with me, because I should have had this prepped, and I need to pull up a different tab because I closed it. So we're going to need to roll for something in a second. Oh, got to log in again. Love apps. So we'll just get this sorted. And so yes, this will very much affect Lex in the future. Is it going to let me?
No pressure. The thing is, depending on what you ask me to roll, I don't know whether it needs to be good or bad either.
Well, this is more... so the only thing I will give you is that it's not a pass or fail. It's more of a table of things that could be, and you're going to decide on the first thing. So where are we?
I don't think that makes me feel any better.
It's that one, isn't it? This tab. Let it load, because everything's very, very slow. Yes, I need you to roll me a d6, please.
One.
A 1. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
No, tell me what any of that means, Ian.
Nope. You have rolled a 1, put on a d6, and yes, I have made a note of that, ready to go forward. So I think, yeah, we're 2 hours in. We could labour this for another hour, but I think we've probably reached a natural point there. So first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone that's joined us tonight. I know it's been a bit of a strange one. There's not been any campaign, but hopefully it's given people a chance to peek behind the curtain, get a bit of a glimpse into what's going on in campaign 2. I know Danny and I have been all over the shop with different things. Hopefully it's given people some sort of insight into the way Danny and I work as well, behind the scenes, in terms of how we craft things and how Danny's come up with his characters and the different characters that have been played as well. A few insights into campaign 2. So I want to say a big thank you to all of you. The other thing I want to say is we are still 6 followers away from our giveaway, which, as I've said, is very, very unique. Now, I've made a decision, I should say, when I can get my words out, which is I'm actually going to reveal what we're giving away tonight. I've not discussed this with the cast, but I figured we've been on about it for weeks. I think we just need to show what it is, and then hopefully that will start to fuel people to want to get us to the 100 follower mark. Once we are there, we will do our giveaway. So, Danny, I'm going to ask you to ad lib for like 4 seconds just while I grab this thing.
Right, but it's been such a mystery that I think I've forgotten what it is. So it's going to be a surprise for me as well. I think I remember what it is. But then when you bring it on screen, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah. It's
so I've just got to craft it anyway. But it's all coming about it. A great song as well. Good pop culture reference.
It's not green, is it? So it's not going to disappear with your CGI shit.
There is part of it that may disappear with my background. So, as I said, this is a one-of-a-kind item. It's a 4-of-a-kind item. There's 4 of them in existence. 5 technically now, actually. It is crafted by my father specifically for this campaign. You will not get it anywhere else. There is only one of them that we are giving away. It is not a dildo, although I might have to put in a request for that because that would be an amazing giveaway. But it is a custom branded Malt and Magic dice box. So there you go. And that is it. And as I said, there is green felt in the middle so you can see the background. If you can make it do
that in real life, that'd be fucking cool.
That would be awesome. But yes, that is it. So a very nice dice box, handmade, wooden, felt interior, folds down quite nicely. It does say Dungeon Master on the back as well, as it's a gift from the Malt and Magic Dungeon Master, if anything. It's also got my dad's little brand on the back there as well. So Roy's Workshop, which is cool. So that is the giveaway. I cannot put a price on this thing because I know how many hours my father's put into it. I know how long it took him to make and all the different work that went into it. So we do not just want to give this away for nothing. Hence, I have said 100 followers is sort of the starting mark. And then we will do that kickoff. So if you want to get your hands on your very own dice tower, complete with dice tray, then yes, let's get to that 100 followers mark and we will kick it off. I will continue to show that every week until we reach that mark now, and then we'll do the giveaway. So yes, thank you for that. Thank you, Dad, for making that. It's amazing. I think every one of the cast members has now got one as well. Danny, I know you've not got yours yet, but we will sort that out in a few weeks when we see each other. It is. It's, funnily enough, sat in the same box that one was. So, and that means no more digital dice, though, mate.
No, we're back on the dice ASMR.
It's got
as
to
soon
be
as I
on
get it, I'm going to buy my clockwork dice that I've seen. And then it's game on.
Got them bookmarked. Good old Etsy special.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm going to give a shout out to all of the Etsy sellers as well, because the amount of D&D stuff that's on Etsy, the amount of dice I bought gemstone dice off Etsy, and they are amazing. They are brilliant. So yes, not a dildo, unfortunately. A dice box, a dice tray, a dice tower.
Although that is a marketing campaign we could go down. That is a side hustle that I'm willing to get involved with.
Malt and Magic is going to create its own new D&D inspired
sex toys. Because then what they can do, they can come in D4 inches, D6 inches, D8 inches, D10 inches. See where I'm going?
Mate, I feel like we need to be quiet because you've just hit on like a perfect business opportunity there. So, yes, welcome to Malt and Magic, folks. This is the chaos that we bring. Hopefully you can have enjoyed it.
Like a beholder with just loads of dildos coming off it instead of eyes.
Oh, that was the one thing we didn't talk about. How much did that throw you off when I threw the...
Yeah, that was a curveball.
Because I'd had that idea of like, I need something weird for the librarian in this place. I was like, fuck it, we'll make a beholder. You've got Xanathar and different beholders in D&D lore that do different things, so why don't we just do that one? Oh, good fun. Cool. So yes, a massive thank you again to everyone for all the support. Thank you, Stick, for the artwork, because it is phenomenal. If you've not seen that, then go check out the website, go check out Discord. Please join us on Discord as well. We have the Malt and Magic community there. We're going to grow it. I know we are all gutted by the situation with Samara and Karsis and having to take that break, but I promise you, we promise you that Malt and Magic will continue, and we will do our very best to continue to grow and continue to build this thing out to make it as entertaining as it always is, hopefully. And yeah, keep you all enthralled. We're going to get some guest viewers in. We will hunt for new permanent cast members as well. But yeah, just stick with us for the next few weeks is all I'm going to say, as we adjust as well, and there's different things we've got to sort out. But thank you for joining us, Danny. Thank you for being a co-host tonight. It's been a lot of fun. It's always good to delve into the strange world of our minds, and all the different things we do in D&D and go down those rabbit holes.
Well, you got enough time to delve into my mind too deeply. Luckily, we're at surface level.
I've spent, I don't know, how long we've been friends now? 13 years? Longer?
Yeah.
Fuck
yeah.
knows.
No, since 2007.
Yeah. 13. Yeah. Jesus.
Fucking hell. Stockholm Syndrome's really kicked
We've drank...
it.
I was going to say, we've drank a lot of alcohol, mate, is all I'm going to say. So, but no, it has been an absolute pleasure working alongside you tonight and continue to work alongside you. So thank you very much, mate. And yeah, I'm not going to labour this anymore. So thank you all once again. We've been the Malt and Magic crew. This has been our episode 1 to 25 recap of campaign 2. Dave will be back with us next week, so we will have episode 26. So come join us again on Monday. But until then, stay safe. We love you all, and we will see you next time.
Peace.